Hey Nathan, it's Monday, February 24th. Your video on Friday about the unrest in Ukraine was very enlightening. I had hardly any idea anything was even going on over there. That just shows how our media, seemingly reliable, really picks and chooses the news that we hear. You begin to wonder what the motive is for leaving huge stories like this out of the reportage. That being said, today I'm going to talk about another government that is fighting against its citizens' will. Venezuela. Venezuela's economy has been struggling to bounce back from the financial crisis that hit the whole world back in 2008. Its growth has been too slow to defeat the skyrocketing inflation and shortage of basic necessities like toilet paper and milk. Last year, the president devalued the currency and inflation rose 59%. Almost exactly a year ago, Hugo Chavez, the consistent yet still often challenged president for the last 15 years, passed away from cancer. His successor, Nicolas Maduro, was elected into power a month later. He received 50.6% of the vote, while his opponent received 49.1%. Not a great win there. Maduro tried to fight the inflation last year by raising the minimum wage 59% to match it. He argues that the economical struggles and shortages that Venezuela is facing is due to capitalism and its trend towards speculation. Maduro and his government began fighting against private companies. He claimed that they were hoarding the goods that were in shortage so that they could sell them at higher prices later. However, it seems these companies are actually experiencing a shortage of these basic goods due to low funds and the devalued currency. Last November, Maduro's military took over some stores to ensure fair prices for buyers, but the results of this have caused more shortages and looting, severely hurting businesses. The protest kickstarted after the death of former Miss Venezuela and actress Monica Spear during a roadside robbery earlier this January. Violent crimes are very frequent in Venezuela and are thought to be one of the main reasons for the protests. Controversial but revered figurehead Leopoldo Lopez began organizing peaceful anti-government protests with students at the beginning of February, wanting to protest these shortages of necessities. Students began to get arrested, which caused further protests calling for their release. By mid-February, pro-government protests began, with these protesters disagreeing with the claims of the opposition. On Valentine's Day, anti-government protesters in the capital city of Caracas, who were calling for the release of student protesters, were attacked by the Venezuelan National Guard with tear gas. This is the beginning of violent retaliation against the peaceful protesters led by both the government and their supporters. On the 18th, after giving a speech for his followers, Lopez turned himself in for arrest. His followers are worried that he will not receive a just trial, and international justice groups such as Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch believe that his arrest is unjust and politically motivated. The opposition is being blamed for the violence when they have consistently striven for peaceful protesting. During the protests that immediately followed Lopez's arrest outside the Palacio de Justicia, pro-government supporters attacked the protesters by throwing objects at and beating them. From then on, pro-government protesters have continued to attack the peaceful anti-government protesters with continued support from government security forces. Reasons for the anti-government protests grow as they begin to ask for a stop to the violence against and killing of these demonstrators. But the violence just keeps getting worse. The death toll most recently reported is either 13 or 16, with even hundreds more being injured and arrested. Yesterday saw a gathering of hundreds of thousands of protesters from both sides in Caracas, leading to further fighting. The force being used against the peaceful protesters by the Venezuelan government is scary. Even though they have the right under the Venezuelan constitution, facts are being misconstrued to silence the protesters. Nathan, I feel so lucky that we live in a country where our right to the freedom of speech and expression is highly guarded. We'll see you on Wednesday.